In Iraq, there are conflicting claims about who is in control of the country's largest dam. Kurdish and Iraqi forces backed by U.S. airstrikes have been battling Islamic State militants all weekend and have taken back parts of the Mosul dam. But the fighting isn't over yet. CCTV's Sean Callebs is in Erbil in Iraq's Kurdish region. And Sean, what's the latest on who has control of the dam and why is this facility so important?
Well, the facility is clearly so important because it means so much to this entire country. It's on the Tigris River, and really the Mosul Dam is the linchpin for electricity in this country, for water supply in this country. It means so very much. Now, what we can tell you is the U.S. has launched some 68 airstrikes in the northern Iraq since U.S. President Barack Obama authorized that a number of days ago. More than half of those airstrikes have been centered around Mosul Dam, and this has cleared the way for Kurdish Peshmerga fighters to take the offensive, to move back against the Islamic State fighters. And this is very significant because when the Islamic State fighters moved into this region in just lightning-quick fashion, they were able to push back the Peshmerga. It was a demoralizing loss here in Erbil as well as throughout much of northern Iraq. The Peshmerga have been the fighting force that really defended the Kurdistan people for generations. So with the assistance of the U.S.-led airstrikes, they are now working in conjunction with the Iraqi Air Force as well as the Kurdistan fighters. So they've been able to move back in. We know they have taken a number of key buildings in and around the dam. The question is, do they fully control it? And right now we simply can't answer that. The Islamic State, however, is back on its heels. And this is important because it's the first time that the Kurdish fighters have been able to take the fight to the Islamic State militants, and that has been extremely important in this area. It has raised the morale of people in this area, and they believe perhaps this could be the turning point where they move to push ISIS or the Islamic State back toward, if not fully, into Syria. Elaine?
And Sean, we're hearing that most of the minority Yazidis who fled into the mountains have been rescued, but now we're hearing about another massacre in another village on Friday. What have you learned about that?
This is just heartbreaking. We spent the last couple of days talking to members of the Yazidi sect, people who live in this area who recognize a very ancient religion going back centuries and centuries. They worship both the Quran and the Bible, but much of what they worship is based on oral history. They have been victimized horribly by the Islamic State. First, the 40,000 people who were stuck on Mount Sinjar. They were there for days before the U.S. began its bombing runs with U.S. jets as well as drones, finally clearing a path for those 40,000 to leave, but not before hundreds and hundreds of people died. But what is really troubling is the news coming out of Kosho. It is a small town, no more than 1,200 families living in that town. What we've been able to gain by talking with religious leaders in that area as well as organizations working in relief effort, the Islamic State moved into that area. They were there for a number of days, and they were demanding the Yazidis abandon their religion and embrace Islam. The Yazidis simply refused to do that. Finally, they were apparently rounded up 3 different groups of people into pickup trucks. They were taking out, and basically the Islamic State just opened fire on them with machine guns, killing as many as 80 people. That's the number we're hearing most consistently. It could be more, it could be fewer. Because the Islamic State is still moving in that region, it's very difficult for anyone to get in that area and determine exactly how many people died. We do know that some people faked as though they were feigned, as though they were been killed, and were able to escape. Many of them suffering bullet injuries, and they have been the ones that have been coming out talking about this. It's just simply horrific, and there's a Yazidi activist here in this area. A lot of people simply frustrated, heartbroken, wondering when the international community is going to do more to preserve their lives and their religion. Elaine?
All right, CCTV's Sean Callebs reporting live from Erbil in the Kurdistan region of Iraq.